Listen, I will not defend it. It seems to me that they haven't given much thought to the many unforeseen effects that might result from the policies that are currently in effect. Mike Rowe has been a champion of working class pride, modesty, and perseverance for many years, but although he was being seen by millions while doing filthy work in sewers and atop buildings, one riddle remained: life with his significant other. For a long time, fans have wondered who the woman was who helped the man who was honest and tenacious build his business. At the age of 59, Mike Rowe's ex-girlfriend has broken her silence, proving what many assumed the whole time. The truth about their intimate relationship is only one aspect of her disclosure. It shows the other side of Mike Rowe that the cameras missed. Her words surprised fans, left coworkers breathless, and even made Mike tearful. Keep listening, because what's about to happen will alter your perception of one of the most beloved TV hosts in America for all time. Subscribing is a must before we begin. The plot delves deeper than anyone could have predicted. The combination of Mike Rowe's charisma, wit, and work ethic made him an iconic presence on television for a long time. However, he created an impenetrable barrier around his personal life that only a select few were privy to. That was the same way that every interview, red carpet, and late-night appearance ended. Fans began to think Mike had preferred solitude over love, as he deftly avoided questions about romance, unwilling to settle down due to their preoccupation with traveling the remote roads of America. His longtime girlfriend, however, has since come forward to say that was completely false. The man who spent decades praising the common worker has someone secretly praising him. He didn't try to conceal me because he felt ashamed, she said. The weight of years spent in quiet was evident in her slightly quivering voice as she continued. He just wanted something of his own in a world where everything he did was public. A long time ago, they first met. Mike became a household name because to dirty jobs. He had a compelling voice and was a Baltimore native who was working as a narrator and part-time host when we last saw him. He lacked fame and fortune, yet he possessed that certain something. Mike favored intimate diners over posh restaurants, quiet chats over parties, and considerate gestures over extravagant displays. Their bond was not based on immediate fame or passion, but on humor, respect, and simplicity. She remembered how, even when he was exhausted, he would listen as if your words had immense significance. However, things changed when dirty professions became popular, bringing with it a demanding schedule, many days spent traveling, and their relationship was tested by his frequent phone calls at 300 a.m. from places like oil rigs or sewage plants, and she mentioned that he would occasionally nod off mid-sentence. However, what truly kept them together wasn't from her vantage point. She observed Mike's meteoric rise from local host to champion for blue-collar America, and she marveled at his unwavering belief in his work and his ability to bring dignity to those the world overlooked. According to her, fame hasn't altered Mike in the least. He's the same self-respecting dude who fixes his own sink, takes pride in his blunders, and puts up with cold leftovers with grace. Despite his rising stardom, Mike refused to utilize their relationship for publicity. He once told me, "If I open that door, they make it such that we can never close it." What they had was special in an industry that thrives on publicity, so she was content with the seclusion and solitude. Now, her statements have confirmed what fans have known all along, that Mike Rowe, he's always claimed that certain occupations are dirty, but guarding love in a world like his is the dirtiest job of all. For years, Mike Rowe's charisma, humor, and work ethic made him a beloved figure. Now, the riddle of his devotion to a single lady is finally solved, one of the most approachable faces on television. However, when it came to his personal life, he put up an invisible barrier that few could penetrate. No matter the setting, an interview, a red carpet, or a late-night appearance, Mike always managed to dodge questions about his romance, leaving fans bewildered. Became persuaded he had opted for independence above love, too preoccupied with traveling the back roads of America to settle down. However, his long-term partner has since proven that this was completely false. The man who spent decades praising the common worker had someone subtly praising him. "He didn't hide me because he was ashamed," she continued. On a world where everything he did was public, he just wanted something of his own. Her voice quivered a little as she spoke, showing the weight of years spent in quiet. Before dirty jobs made Mike a national celebrity, they met when he was a charming Baltimore local working as a part-time presenter and narrator. She smiled nostalgically and said he wasn't famous or wealthy, but he had that something. Their bond was not one of rapid stardom or intense love, rather it was based on mutual regard, simplicity, and humor. Mike favored intimate cafes over large banquets, one-on-one chats over wild celebrations, and meaningful. She said that he had a special talent for making you feel like you were his only audience. Even when he was exhausted, he would listen as if what you had to say were of the utmost importance. However, everything changed after Dirty Jobs became a viral sensation. Their relationship was stressed by his hectic job, long travel days, and constant exposure. She mentioned that he would call at 300 a.m. from an oil rig or a sewage plant just to check in, and there were instances when he would fall asleep mid-sentence. However, What kept them together wasn't, she elaborated by saying that Mike's belief in his work and his ability to see the dignity in those the world overlooked made his passion infectious. She observed from the sidelines as Mike went from being a local host to a voice for working class America. However, according to her, fame has never altered him. He remains the same self-respecting individual who fixes his own wash basin, takes pleasure in his own gaffes, and eats stale food without grumbling. Despite his increasing fame, Mike chose not to use his relationship as a publicity stunt. "They will never allow us to close that door again if I open it," he warned me once. Knowing that what they had was priceless in a field based on exposure, she was content with the seclusion, alone, and stillness. His statements have finally put an end to the mystery, as they prove what admirers have always suspected, that Mike Rowe is not a lifelong bachelor, but a guy dedicated to a single lady. "He's always said some jobs are dirty," she remarked with a gentle grin, "but the hardest job of all is safeguarding love in their world." The show's raw honesty won over viewers, but few understood the personal toll it took on Mike Rowe, who had no clue it would engulf his life for the next decade. Each week brought a new challenge, whether it was working underground with miners inside fish factories or deep in the mud alongside sewer workers. He was always on the go. His girlfriend revealed he'd be in a different state or in a different time zone. "I wouldn't see him for months," she'd say, but their bond would stay strong because Mike always made sure to call her. No matter how exhausted he was, he always made sure to call. His loyalty, rather than his glitz, was the glue that held their relationship together. "If you can withstand that, the dirt is no match for you." She disclosed that he remained unfazed by his sudden celebrity and the widespread recognition of his face, saying he never used the word fans. "I believe he meant that in more than one way. Friends I haven't met yet were always referred to as such by him. That modesty is genuine." However, behind the scenes, Mike was secretly fighting fatigue. He would return home wounded, ill, and tired after spotlighting America's hardest workers. She threatened to grovel if she could, but Mike just isn't wired that way. As long as others are carrying out the actual labor, he sees no reason to voice his disapproval. That dogged persistence was his greatest asset and his worst weakness. "I don't know if I can keep doing this," he muttered as he sat grime-covered on the couch one night after returning from filming in a chili factory, according to her recollection. "But someone must do it," he then added with a smile. It's typical of Mike to prioritize the needs of others. Although the distance was painful, she said she wouldn't change a thing. There were moments when she wanted him to slow down and think about himself, but he couldn't. He feels a responsibility to represent people who never get thanked for their work, and he carries that weight with pride. She confessed, "I fell in love with his purpose as much as I fell in love with him. He's not flawless. He has his moments of being obstinate, preoccupied, and lost in contemplation. However, his genuine concern for others makes you understand that he's at his true calling." Most people don't realize that when they were apart for so long, they actually sent letters to each other, not messages or emails, but real letters. She stated that this made their connection feel more tangible, and she still has the letters stashed away in a box at home, a subtle reminder that no matter how far fame took him, his heart would always be by his side. Mike Rowe views hard labor as more than just a profession, it's a love language. Loving him required comprehending this. As Mike Rowe's celebrity grew, so did that. There were a lot of demands put on him, more shows from the networks, more episodes from the producers, and more access to his life from the fans. But his girlfriend noticed the cracks developing behind the scenes. He'd get home, collapse on the couch, and just stare at the ceiling. She whispered, Mike, who spent his life illuminating the path for others, hardly gave himself permission to relax. As she put it, "There's a guy out there laying asphalt." Despite this, I could see he was exhausted. Scorching 110 degrees. Having a lie-in is something I just cannot rationalize. He carries the weight of every tale he films, and that exhausts him emotionally. That's how much he values hard labor. He would occasionally fall asleep talking about the farmers fighting for survival, the miners putting their lives on the line, and the unsung heroes whose labor went unrecognized and unrewarded. According to her, he would recall their names, families, and the hardships they endured, conflicts. He was unable to deactivate it. His fiancée disclosed that they came close to ending their relationship at one point. He was giving everything to the world and nothing to himself. She said, "I advised him, you doesn't have enough liquid to pour." When I asked Mike about his struggles with slowing down, he would often tell me things like, "If I stop, people forget the message." This was because he considered his work more of a calling than a career. They resumed disregarding individuals who persist, this nation humming along. There was a cost to that honorable sense of responsibility. Every holiday, birthday, and anniversary passed him by. How much it wounded him was the thing that hurt her the most. He would casually share photos from airport lounges and hotel rooms with me, captioning them with, "Wish you were, it was heartbreaking for me since I knew he was being sincere." However, She had a good grasp of his motivations. Notoriety was never his goal, he desired a bond. According to what she claimed, he wanted people to focus on a trash collector or a farmer yet maintaining an air of dignity. A mission of that nature doesn't go away quickly. In the process, she came to love him. Mike Rowe is just too good to be true. Her laughter filled the air. If you don't grasp the objective, then you don't understand it. As time went on, she evolved into more than just his partner, she became his rock. Somebody dared to tell him that even champions require downtime. No need to prove anything today. You're home, I'd remind him when he'd return home caked in grease and dirt. That was something that would always put a grin on his face. At one point, Mike thought about just giving up on television completely. He'd think, maybe I've done enough. Maybe it's time to disappear for a while. But then a letter would arrive, a young individual with aspirations of becoming a welder, a father instilling the value of perseverance in his son. He would be enticed back in the same instant. That was too important for him to ignore. Regardless of the circumstances, her faith in his person, she claimed he's the type of guy that takes it harder on himself than other people. And while it is lovely, it is also somewhat weighty. She didn't think twice about giving the response when asked what she thought people misunderstood most about him. They consider him to be impenetrable. They perceive charisma, wit, and self-assurance. But underneath it all, he's a really devoted, kind, and self-doubting human being. She claims that the kindness of the staff is the main reason she has stayed for so long. Though he would not be at home each night, she beamed. She knew that his heart never has been. Over the years, Mike Rowe was viewed as an unbeatable powerhouse by the world. He was a comic genius who served as a timely reminder to Americans to honor the people who established our nation. However, the man who stood boldly in front of the camera was a man who battled exhaustion, isolation, and the weight of representing millions every day. According to his fiancée, distance wasn't the hardest part. It was seeing him shoulder responsibilities that were not really his. He would peruse fan letters in which people described how his show had a profound impact on their life. According to her, he would be appreciative but also sad. Every day, he felt the weight of responsibility to live up to that reputation. She went on to say that he would spend late evenings on the veranda, sipping coffee and thinking about the welders, miners, and fishermen he had met. These people had shown him what hard labor looked like. In his mind, he was never renowned. She made the claim. To him, it was a stroke of luck. Isolation was still a problem. At home, there were times when he would sit down next to me and simply remain silent. He was unnecessary to speak. Peace was all he needed. Getting someone to notice him was never gonna make Mike feel better. Quietness led him to it. When he remained silent, it was always to show his girlfriend that he was distant. That was healing. He seems to be carrying the energy of every job he's ever had. She whispered joy, weariness, and existence amidst the noise of machines. Finally, when he gets home, he drops the subject. According to her, no matter what, Mike would quietly prioritize her needs. Whenever he was going to go away on a shoot, he would leave little messages. Catch you later, and in the meantime, remember to smile today. More than anything else, those actions spoke volumes. She admitted that his intense guardianship of her privacy was something that the public never saw. When he once told me, "I'm the one who signed up for this life, not you," he meant it. She loved him without showing it, and she supported him quietly for years. She has been silent for decades, but she is now proud to confirm what many have thought all along. Mike Rowe is more than just a showman with perseverance. Loyalty, appreciation, and affection that lasts long after the lights go down are personified by him. It wasn't an easy decision for Mike Rowe's girlfriend to open up. She had observed him juggling two identities for almost 20 years. This man, beloved by millions of viewers, and the introverted individual who returned home yearning for tranquility. When no one is watching, Mike doesn't put on a show. She claimed, "What you see on television, that humor, humility, and curiosity, that's him completely." However, the extent to which he doubted himself astonished many. She elaborated on how he had always considered himself unremarkable. He considered himself a career. He often confided in her about how uneasy he felt about celebrity and how it took attention away from the real storytellers. Then he'd claim, "I'm that they are stars." His humility, however commendable, made things more difficult for him at times. In favor of going to a friend's retirement party or volunteering at a nearby vocational school, he would decline expensive appearances and galas featuring famous people. She chuckled as she said she would prefer shake hands with a welder than pose for a picture with an actor. She fell head over heels for him year after year because of his grounded demeanor. He isn't one to seek admiration. According to her, he commands respect. However, there were difficulties in being with a man so admired. She recalled the peculiar sensation of gliding through airports unnoticed as a horde of adoring admirers yelled out his name. Every time I was in the crowd, he'd wink at me. His manner of expressing, "I'm still here with you," no matter how far apart they were or how busy they were, their relationship remained unbreakable, deepened as a result of their refusal to allow celebrity to change their identities. Truthfulness and mirth were the cornerstones of our world. She disclosed he's the same guy that gives name-based compliments to each waiter and assists elderly people with grocery shopping. Despite the fact that rumors regarding his personal life persist to this day, she claims the reality is straightforward. Mike Rose's success did not alter who he was. Who he was before was only made worse by this. She whispered that he can be happy without a palace or limelight. Every morning he needs a cause to get out of bed, along with wonderful people and inspiring tales. The reason Mike has remained popular for so long isn't mystery, but rather his genuineness, which has become clear to followers now that she has spoken. A rare breed indeed, he leaves an indelible mark not via celebrity, but by the unassuming, unwavering veracity of his character. As Mike Rose's career progressed, his perspective on life, fame, and love also changed. Finally, he decided to take it easy after years of nonstop shooting, late nights, and exhaustion. It wasn't because he hated his job, it was because he understood what was important. He confided in me and said, "I believe I've wasted spending more time with random people than with him." His girlfriend disclosed it was at that moment that things started to change. Mike started devoting more time to his personal life, taking lengthy breaks between assignments, and rediscovering the peaceful pursuits that provided him joy, such as music, writing, and contemplation. She mentioned that he would spend hours on end on the porch playing classic country tunes on his guitar. I witnessed his happiest self at that moment. There was a different Mike Rowe when he wasn't in front of the cameras. He was the type of man who preferred quiet reflection to the limelight. Producers would ring him up and ask if he wanted to return to TV full-time, but he would always decline, saying, "Not yet. I'm where I need to be." His girlfriend claims that this was the moment in their relationship when they were able to reconnect without the stress of filming, in the mundane routines of everyday life, spending time together in the kitchen, going for drives, and making light-hearted jokes about the absurdity of fame. He would say things like, "The only thing dirtier than a job is show business." She would laugh, and he meant it. However, behind the jokes, Mike carried a heavy burden, appreciation for all that the show had given him. He has no regrets. According to her, he has just learned to breathe. Those who encountered him at this period often praised his composure, center, and sense of grounding more so than before. "He's not chasing a legacy," she said. "He's living one," she said. Mike has never been one to stick to schedules, so when I inquired if he ever brings up the subject of marriage, she grinned knowingly. "The reality of our relationship is enough for us." That, she thinks, is the key to his everlasting serenity, genuine love that blossoms in the shadows, unnoticed and unappreciated. She claims he's the type of man who could quit Hollywood tomorrow and be happy with his life, purpose, and the life we've created together apart from the chaos. Now that his girlfriend's comments are public knowledge, the enigma surrounding Mike Rowe has finally reached its climax. The truth is profoundly simple, yet incredibly powerful. He was never defined by his fame, and he never felt the need to prove himself to the world. In spite of his many admirers over the years, Mike's integrity has always been his greatest strength. According to her, he doesn't pretend to be anyone he's not. He's exactly the same man at home as he is on camera. Verification put an end to years of guesswork and served as a reminder of why Mike Rowe is still widely regarded as one of the most revered figures in television. Throughout his career, he demonstrated to the American people that true heroes don't wear suits but hard hats. His life, which was founded on gratitude and love, was authentic and never required publicity. She whispered, "He's always said that success is meaningless if you lose your soul." Mike, at 59 years old, proves that being genuine is important, that love isn't something to brag about, and that genuine character is timeless. His girlfriend's confession didn't disclose a scandal. It showed a hero, a man who remained modest, faithful, and true to his beliefs. And now that she's confirmed what admirers assumed, one thing is undoubtedly Mike Rose's magnum opus has never graced television screens. Rather, it is the clandestine existence he has painstakingly crafted beside the woman who first laid eyes on him prior to the world's awareness.